chasing drugs.
Can't get away from drugs by sending cops into school.
You guys remember that? You remember how bad the was?
This is the 2001 board of directors for the DARE program. Before I show you who's on it, I want you to ask yourself, who would you want running DARE? Maybe social scientists, so educators. These people are going to wield the power of the police and shape how millions of children view drugs, crimes, and their own body. All right. Ready? You said 4 billion, 18 multimillionaires, their lawyers, 3 cops, one of whom is a convicted felon, 2 who are involved in scandals, their friends, the NFL player who's at the center of RFK's assassin, who reportedly steroids, 2 UFC list, and this guy who, after the FBI did an undercover sting, caught him trying to launder money to cover up a cocaine trafficking operation. If you said that, then you'd be right.
The DARE program it's nonsense. I mean, we can be honest about it.
By 1995, DARE, or Drug Abuse Resistance Education, was in 75% of all American school districts. They sent thousands of police officers to teach 10-year-olds to say no to drugs. It was backed by presidents,
People like these DARE officers are making a real impression.
celebrities.
Little kids doing drugs.
It even got its own national holiday. 114 million Americans went through DARE. That's 34%, the entire population.
What we were talking about are the consequences of using marijuana and not using marijuana.
I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and thinking about using.
And then we found out that it didn't work.
Cheers.
Cheers. A while back, Mia and I were talking about the DARE program.
Because genuine, what the fuck?
Specifically, how bad its failure was. Some studies, like this one, found that DARE students were more likely than non-DARE students. Whoops.
How did that happen?
And then Mia had a question.
Everyone knows about DARE. Everyone knows that I'm missing is like, did they not test it worked? Like the people that made it?
For years, DARE has been laughed at.
Just say
Now to crack!
Trendy, goofy teens wear their t-shirt around to mock its demise. We all came up with our own theories why DARE didn't work. We kind of dismissed it as yet another the private corporation, a non-profit that often doesn't act like one, that somehow was able to get a dysfunctional drug program and police officers into your school and mine. This video was supposed to be a nostalgic explainer of America's biggest accident, but over the past 4 months, we've been combing through thousands of documents, interviewing cops, historians, journalists, and discovered that behind this program is a buried story. Using high-powered lawyers attached to light, the people at DARE ruined careers to protect themselves. I want to show you all of this, because when you look at the people who were behind you start to see what DARE was really all about.
And then 12-year-old kids were like, okay, crack sounds fun.
And then all the kids.
In Mojave Desert, illegal guns being sent to the Contras by the CIA.
They did studies that showed that it's actually ineffective, in some cases actually harmful.
The story that's told is that DARE had good intentions, that they built a program that they thought would work, and it just didn't. However, I quickly learned there's a lot more to that story. After talking with Mia, I went out and picked up this Ball State University, and it's phenomenal. But there's one part that left me with way more than answers. So I reached out. In 1983, a group of researchers affiliated with USC just wrapped up a meeting with the Los Angeles School Board.
It's not like they didn't have drug prevention efforts going on. The LA Unified School District actually had been piloting a program called Project SMART.
Were leaving a school boarding when a man approaches them.
Actually approached the Project SMART researchers.
His name was Daryl Gates.
And Gates is kind of like, well, what if we can take the Project SMART and just have the police teach it?
Having serious objections to police involvement, they said no. But according to one of Gates's right-hand men,
If you told Gates that he was wrong, he would crush you.
What do you mean? Million kids went through this program. So what do you mean he'll crush you? What do you mean by that?
This idea of like, if only they had, does not apply.
They fucking knew? Did they knew? Did they know?
So
the SMARTs agreed to share their findings. They had been testing 2 different approaches. One of them they found didn't work.
And they said, we found that this affective component wasn't working. We've dropped it. We don't use that anymore because we
found that it made kids more likely to do drugs
Before it launched.
before it launched. And that's what they told him.
The other side of it, what they called peer resistance training, was more effective. What ends up happening, there's no real documentation of why this occurred, is that they kept the affective education component in.
So the part that they knew didn't work.
DARE kept that piece in.
What do you take from that? Is this just a PR stunt? Or do you think there might be other stuff going on behind the scenes?
Stuff going on.
This is drugs. This is your brain.
The other stuff, they want you to be curious enough to go figure out what is drugs. What do they do? Are they for you? But nevertheless, try them first, then find out. I didn't know anything about drugs until Dare came around. And that's the honest truth. That's the reason why this stuff in the program didn't work. They bashed our minds with this stuff so much that it was just like, okay, what is it?
Questions?
Max's book is a phenomenal breakdown of DARE's expansion, its impacts on culture, policing, the nuances of the hundreds of studies that went into DARE. But I want to show you
that way to get hard than Viagra. It's called Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
What's going on?
a completely different angle.
Okay, so I talked to this guy. He's a former cop, and he was there. Like, he worked created.
Okay.
And I think the problem is that they all just kind of assumed that failure was a big mistake. Let me just show you what he said.
Why are we doing this program? You know, because that's internally, that's what most people thought. So why are we doing this?
Wait, tell me more about that.
They just thought it was a ridiculous idea.
What? Okay. Marijuana. Oh, is it good?
When one of the smart researchers learned that Dare was using the effective approach, he reached out to try to help fix it. But Dare was never interested, speculating that Dare had other motives. Dare didn't need fixing. What it needed was money and friends in high places. Though not technically true, the point still stands. Another had never talked to a scientist until it got into some trouble in 1993. When Dare was already in 50% of school districts, making the question, if their goal wasn't efficacy, what was it?
It is truly my great pleasure to welcome Dare to NASDAQ.
It's June 4th, 1968. A 15-year-old boy walks into the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. He's there on an assignment. Robert F. Kennedy is in town, and he's giving a speech at a hotel. The boy's assignment is to take photos of
you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Following the speech, the 15-year-old is following the senator around, snapping photos, when
Senator Kennedy had been shot. He's been shot? That's
a former NFL player named Rosie Greer subdued as the assassin of Robert Kennedy. Realizing that Kennedy had just been shot, the high school photographer starts taking photos of everything he can. Then, the LAPD appears. The boy is detained. All his photos, 3 entire rolls of film, are taken from him. 2 months later, the LAPD secretly burns 2,410 photos taken during the investigation. In time, they also destroy ceiling panels with bullet holes in them, x-rays of those ceiling panels, and spectrographic analyses of the bullets. Why would you do that? It's all suspicious. During this time, a young officer at the LAPD is climbing the ranks. His name is Daryl Gates, and he was just in charge of the intelligence division, but got a promotion to be assistant chief.
He was a narcissist, and his ego was beyond belief.
Gates is an infamous patient.
A man who Pulitzer Prize winning journalists have called egomaniacal and paranoid. He is responsible
and commits a move that will change policing forever. A brutal, unprovoked raid on the Black Panthers. Meanwhile, the intelligence division that Gates oversaw breaks off into 2 different categories. The Organized Crime Intelligence Division, or OCID, and the Public Disorder Intelligence Division, or PDID. Almost immediately, the PDID neglects its mission to serve public disorder, building dossiers on journalists, labor unions, civil rights groups, public servants, anti-war activists, and the mayor, of course.
This paranoia that the LAPD had under Daryl Gates extended way beyond the city of LA. He has undercover all around the world.
I know this guy sounds like a conspiracy theorist, but he's actually a Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalist. Check yourself.
part of what you were revealing. He had like hundreds.
I don't know how many he had.
We're not talking FBI, ED, a local municipal police force, hundreds of agents undercover, and some of them internationally.
Hundreds of agents in the unit that supervised the undercover officers.
Soon, the PDID starts to get in trouble. They got caught running covert intelligence missions by sending undercover officers into schools, not to investigate a crime, but instead to build political dossiers, signifying that the LAPD and Daryl Gates are becoming increasingly obsessed with power. Police officers are starting to look towards Daryl Gates for their next move.
Watergate. The White House called it a third-rate burglary, but it escalated into the worst political scandal in American history.
I shall resign the presidency at noon tomorrow.
In the wake of the Watergate scandal, America started to wake up. The government wasn't just watching its enemies anymore. It was watching everyone, ran COINTELPRO. And the CIA, through Operation MH Chaos, local, state, on it. So cities, states, Congress started pushing back, passing laws like this one. These laws say, if you're spying on someone, if there's no crime committed, you have to delete the file. Around this same time, they expand the Freedom of Information Act. And this guy, a congressman from New York, wants answers. He wants to know what really happened to Robert F. Kennedy, and starts asking questions. A memo makes its way up the chain of command to Daryl Gates, responding point by point to the representative's questions. A key photograph taken during the investigation of the assassination was kept secret by Los Angeles police, who feared it might contradict official statements. The existence of this photograph is believed to be unknown by anyone outside of this department, and that the LAPD
DraftKings casinos?
the California Supreme Court comes down on the LAPD, saying, you can't send undercover cops into schools if there's no crime. You can't do this. Then, the LA Board of Police Commissioners orders Daryl Gates' precious PDID to destroy 1.9 million dossiers. The world that Gates built of power, secrecy, and surveillance is officially under. The Senate Intelligence Committee wants names. Everyone that's spying for the LAPD. The chief waged a war. His response was a clear declaration that the LAPD was going rogue. It will be a cold day in hell when I provide you with the information you've requested. Back in LA, one of the PDID spies gets a quiet order. We're not going to destroy the records. We want you to hide them. 3 years later, Daryl Gates is promoted to chief, inheriting total control of a rogue, loyal, militarized force with an elite spy network, directly from the CIA gods themselves. These new laws didn't say that spying was illegal. They just said that if no crime was committed, you shall maintain no record. Representative Larry McDonald, chair of the right-wing advocacy group known for its conspiracy theories, teams up with his buddies to create the Western Goals Foundation, a domestic intelligence agency.
Those guys came up with the idea of setting up this company to do what the FBI couldn't do.
Cannot regulate. Of course, private businesses. The LAPD funnels its hidden records to the ultra-conservative mini deep state.
He got the files from PDID.
And ramps up.
200 groups were infiltrated over the course of a couple of years.
Spies are sent to the city council, journalists, academics, the ACLU, celebrities, LGBTQ activists, labor unions, and the political left.
And those were being provided to Western Goals.
We were told this Chambers, and it was an undercover agent. You've had officers, organizations, law-abiding organizations infiltrating this council chamber, reporting on what councilmen have said, reporting on roll calls of councilmen, and you're telling me that you're proud of the efforts that have been made?
You seem to know a great deal for a statement that says you don't know anything.
Now, what is it? Do you know everything or do you don't know everything?
Yes, yes,
Order,
yes,
Madam Chair.
yes, Mr. Bernardi, I believe so.
We'd come to work and there'd be a helicopter. They'd be monitoring us coming and going and everything. And, we'd stand there like going like this at the helicopter.
Journalist Dave Lindorf was target for the PDID.
The helicopter would follow me at night. One time they followed me all the way home. They were shining their light on me.
Dave and 143 others sue Daryl Gates. Backed by the ACLU, things get hot. Gates strikes back. Totally separate case against the ACLU. Undercover cops can operate in school. The U plans to appeal. All they have to do is prove one thing, that Gates will abuse that power. So the ACLU focuses their attention on the PDID case. The city attorney representing Gates opens an unlocked file cabinet. He runs to the press, calling PDID a clandestine band of zealots who abuse every single moral and ethical precept. The judge says they're going to order the police to release the files. But before they do, the news breaks. Gates has been funneling intelligence. Like, people are seeing this or hearing this. It is a huge deal. This is not good for Gates.
They weren't overly concerned until the ACLU got in the PDID.
The ACLU starts closing in.
We started what's called the purge, destroying tens of thousands of documents. We had 2 commercial shredders. We burned them up. They knew they were going to lose this lawsuit.
Gates runs to the school board and pitches an idea. Drug education, taught by police, not for one class, but have them stay there.
When it came to spot,
is like, you are nuts. A program cannot be developed overnight. Gates approaches smart researchers saying, use my cops for your program. They say, no.
they would send their files on leftist groups to Western Goals would make them accessible to the FBI.
Western Goals gets added as a defendant right as soon as they entered the Iran-Contra funding network by funding rebels in Nicaragua with the CIA. The founder of Western Goals gets shoot the plane down. He dies. The ACLU goes on the offense. The CIA notices that all of this is happening. LAPD, MH Chaos type activities, ACLU legal action. The CIA sends 2 agents to LA, and Gates sends 10 cops to 50 elementary schools. The official launch of DARE.
And that's when the city settled.
But so does the internet, which is why I use Surfshark, the sponsor of this video. With Surfshark VPN, you can connect to the internet in 100 different countries around the world, and then see what they see. It comes in handy when you're trying to access content that's blocked or censored in your country. Yikes. While also protecting your online privacy and security. Because with Surfshark VPN, all your web activity filters through whatever server you're connected to. And with Surfshark Alert, they'll monitor your online accounts and financial accounts to see if anything shows up in a data breach. I hate to say it, it's things that no one thinks about until it's too late. So Surfshark is offering an extra 4 months for free to anyone that watches this video. All you have to do is click the link down below, surfshark.com/Chuppel. CHUPPL. If you click that link, you'll get the deal. And there's no worries because Surfshark has a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring a portion of today's video.
Yo, Drew, I got that stuff I was telling you about.
No!
Sometimes the best answer is the simplest way. You have the power. Just say no to drugs.
Years passed by, DARE slowly grew, but there was one problem: money. Police can't take money from any person who's engaged in business for gain. But a nonprofit, then now it's not the LAPD LAPD asking? It's a private charity. Then that private nonprofit can take the money and pass it off to the police department. Totally passes the sniff test. Like, it's totally above board. Super happy that things work this way. God. Today, this is actually totally normal. They're called police foundations. And if you've never heard of it, according to policefoundations.org, that's the point. These police foundations can't legally imply that owner will be able to influence official action, get anything in return, but there's low transparency. Slush funds. The LAPD creates one called the CPAC, which turns into DARE California, and then, in turn, DARE America. They throw some fundraisers, inviting who critics would call dark money. They throw this fundraiser gala for DARE. The dinner chair of the gala, which, like, whatever, I don't fucking know what that means, is a luxury goods and jewelry mogul. And he lands a seat DARE America's board of directors. They make the board too. An attorney attends. Her son is suddenly on the board. The whole event, netting DARE more than $760,000, is paid for by a banker and Michael Milken, the man who would later get indicted for stock manipulation, insider trading, tax evasion, and become known as the junk bond king. Michael Milken, friend of DARE, I guess. That's crazy. How did that happen? How do they know each other? Is a duck. You can tell because it walks like one and it talks like one. In all my life, I've learned that if something says that it's one thing, but then it acts different, you should ask questions. A good one to start with is, how is it walking and how is it talking?
When your severe asthma said you can't, test spot.
DARE's first year was a trial run. Year 2, oops, cop shoots a revolver in a classroom. Year 3, though, something different.
Oh, turning in their parents for drug use.
Even though DARE is still small, period. From the early days, DARE has to come up with this policy, telling their officers, you're not here to gather intelligence. You're here as a teacher. DARE's training documents are bathed in this language. Gain their trust. Gain their trust. And God forbid if a child does confide in you, just like coincidentally, not because you gain their trust or anything, get another officer and let them take care of it. We can't have you losing the kid's trust, because I guess that's important for drug education.
Perhaps unintended.
Intended or unintended.
The new DARE elementary curriculum challenges students by having them participate in active learning. The officer guides and directs students' progress.
Student to help me by decorating the DARE box, and that'll be a place for all of you to drop questions in. But also that might be a place where you may want to tell me something in confidentiality, and if you do, make sure that you make note in that box, please. Make note that that's in there, or that you don't want anyone to hear it, that you want it to be private. When I mention the term confidentiality, what that means is it's something between you and I. It's private.
If a literal confession box isn't damning, what you know about Daryl Gates to start a program that inspired kids to act as informants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have no doubt that it occurred to him that this is a possibility.
As DARE grew, this became a huge problem. More and more kids started turning their parents in. Parents compared DARE to the late Weimar Republic. If DARE was good at one thing, it was not drug education. It was, as Wikipedia says, using children.
Use kids to rat out on their parents, the bottom of the barrel. If they use that to lock the dad up, the kid's going to find out about it someday that it was because of what they did, and they're going to live with that guilt.
A 3-year independent study into DARE is commissioned by the Department of Justice, the same branch that funds DARE. Over the years, the DOJ approves of the independent agency's approach. But when the study was ready and the findings were that DARE didn't work, the Department of Justice refused to publish it. Totally confused, the researchers go to the American Journal of Public Health, one of the most respected academic journals in its field. The study received exceptionally good peer reviews, so the American Journal of Public Health goes to publish it. When the phone rings, it's DARE. They said that DARE tried to intimidate them, to interfere and prevent the public from knowing. When a major television network was working on a story about DARE, the producer said, "They worked very hard to get our story suppressed." When a reporter questioned the effectiveness of the program, USA Today, he received letters from classrooms all over the country, coordinated. They were all addressed, "Dear DARE Basher." DARE didn't stumble into its failure, it protected it. But to DARE, money starts flowing.
And our nation is united against this scourge as never before.
The First Lady attends DARE fundraisers. Disney's daughter gives an extraordinarily generous donation, landing a spot. The federal government says it'll pass a bill to fund anti-drug programs. Gates perks up and says, "Success is when every classroom across America." DARE sends a lobbyist specifically putting money aside for programs that are taught by uniformed law enforcement officials. DARE uses government money to create regional trainers and the board of directors, executives, employees, training centers, then the cops. But if they hire cops, they're no longer cops. So they help police departments set up private nonprofit themselves, dedicating much of. They then coach those officers to expand their program and bring on more officers, creating a really unique triangle shape.
Why does it kind of sound like a multi-level marketing scheme?
At the time, Herbalife and MLM was the fastest growing company in America. Perhaps DARE took some inspiration, but I don't know. It's not like Herbalife's founder and executive vice president was on the board of directors. They even donated $36,000 to DARE, specifically designated for rent. They start taking donations from corporations. A famous one is KFC. Right there. Look at that, the logo. It doesn't say DARE. DARE America.
You know, if I were to have gone back to write this book again, you know, now, like trying to figure out, go into like corporate archives to find out.
Where would be a good place to find those that are potentially getting kickbacks? Officially, there's no kickbacks for these donors. There can't be. But in late 1989, Deputy Chief Glenn Levant, who helped run the DARE program at LAPD, ordered his elite detectives to spend 2 days scouting out a hotel outside of city limits. They were there to catch a thief, which is odd because they were outside of city limits. They're outside of their jurisdiction. Those cops should know the hotel was involved with the DARE program board. meaning the police were doing odd things, things that they usually would not be doing, things that benefited members of DARE's board.
The case that shocked the world, and now it has exploded into a city out of control.
A few years later, several police officers were caught on camera in a racially charged attack, beating a man named Rodney King.
Terrible situation.
They burned.
Fires, looting, gunshots, and now the National Guard may be ready to move in.
Gates was forced to resign. Levant shot up. His ambition kicked in. It was his time to be chief. But he didn't get the job. He left the force. The man who sent cops outside of city limits and reportedly ran the PDID's vastly more powerful sibling.
We were a mini CIA for the chief of police, and we worked some joint operations with the CIA.
Glenn Levant would leave the Los Angeles Police Department to take over.
Farm made $104. Press made $6 billion. I think that accident. Look,
This is a timeline showing DARE's board of directors over time. That are affiliated with DARE's board. These are the people that Glenn Levant and DARE America reported to. You have billionaires and millionaires, high-powered lawyers, government officials or people with connections, high-powered police and their friends, media personalities, and some old friends. The football player that subdued RFK's killer, Bill Clinton's close confidant, a former congressman who was disgraced by financial crimes, who was assisted in those crimes by DARE's friend, the junk Bond King, founders and CEOs of Michael Jackson, an infomercial king who will soon launder cocaine money, the lawyer who defended the city of LA in a lawsuit filed by the 15-year-old boy whose photos of RFK's assassination were stolen from him. But soon, trouble hits.
The largest criminal action against a Wall Street figure ever. Federal prosecutors indicted one of the richest and best known Wall Street figures in America. His name was Michael Douglas, the lead character in Wall Street. Greed is Good. That was based on Michael Milken.
Friend of DARE, Michael Milken, is indicted in a federal grand jury for financial crimes. Many of the board's most powerful members directly benefited from his financing. Like this guy, billion connected to Harvey Weinstein, business partners with Sean Diddy Combs, close friends and donor to Bill Clinton, and his name appears on a list, officially made by a man who never had any clients. According to the data available to us, Ron Burkle is the longest-running director on to 10 years. He only served 22 months, and then the Junk Bond King was released. But he had to do a lot of community service hours, which he went to DARE for. You can see him here talking to board member Michael Jackson at a gala. And as DARE starts to fail, the board will also fall apart. Michael Jackson goes to criminal trial. Michael Ovitz gets fired from his executive role at Disney. DARE has a tense meeting with Congress and subsequently loses access to federal funding. Herbalife's founder, Sub and Ron Burkle have a fallout, and several members on the board have either hired or are somehow connected to a private investigator named Anthony Pellicano. They call him the Sin Eater. The convicted felon was hired by the Clintons to discredit Monica Lewinsky and Jennifer Flowers. He was hired by Michael Jackson to investigate the children accusing him. Hired by Ovitz to spy on Burkle. He was a mob man who somehow got access to LAPD police files to aid in his crime. Guys that out of the goodness of their hearts want to help your kids. So what was DARE really all about? We can't say for sure, but we can hold it up to the duck test. Beginning in the 1990s, the United Kingdom taught the DARE curricula, but over time, they modified the curricula and strayed from only using police officers. Cops. They just also but demanding that they stop using the DARE trademark. Coincidentally, after DARE studies found an overall positive change in results. So while the official story is that Daryl Gates created DARE because he wasn't happy with the results of the undercover, I believe that the Detroit News said it best. 1983, then Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates wanted was a strange brew of politics, police, and education researchers, and there's a long history of cloud to evaluate it. So if you were to ask me, DARE walks like an MLM and talks like a hustle. After years of attacking anyone that criticized their program, DARE finally admitted it, shown that the program did not work. Seemingly in hopes to regain access to federal funding, DARE has released a new program. Then this one works.
Today, Attorney General Jeff Sessions attended a gathering of DARE.
Over the past 3 years, DARE has had record-breaking expansion, training thousands of new cops. DARE is back.
The first DARE graduation in 2 decades.
There's so much interest in DARE returning.
Revamping the DARE program, and schools are on board.
And it does actually seem like is that DARE's new program was evaluated by a man named William B. Hansen, a scientific prevention strategist, who back in the day worked with the Los Angeles Unified School District to develop a program called Project SMART. Thank you again to Surf for sponsoring a portion of the show. And thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing.
So yeah, I'm just gonna wait it out and see what happens. Best move is to stand still. And yeah. Because I think earlier it was back at like some water, some ice water. But just like with any and everything, you know, you have resistance. And I remember my beginning journey, my beginning stages, it was a lot of resistance, a lot of things I didn't know. With that being said, I'm just going to feel like we're in a good position. If anything, still got a chance to grab a little more. So yeah, you can keep an eye on that and keep you guys updated on what's going on with that, so you can see what's what. And really enjoy how to make this money online. 90-day challenge currently going on. Free blueprint available. Make sure you grab that. The peace of blessings though. Team Angie. Happy Tuesday. At least my teeth.